Hi, I want to tell you a little bit about the software that I use to run my law firm. First of all, I have a background in technology and business, and so I spent several years working in a corporate environment, usually with software developers, and so I've grown comfortable with a lot of project management tools. And so when I looked at the law firm management tools, I was not very happy with any of them. They do a few things really well. For example, client billing is something that is done pretty well with the tools, but most of the other things, the day-to-day activities of the law firm, it doesn't do very well. And the way that I think of it is a law firm is really just two things. It is managing projects, just like building a bridge or a skyscraper or something like that, or building software for that matter. You got a desired outcome, you've got deadlines that you have to reach, you've got a number of tasks that need to be done. So that's the main thing. So in theory, any good project management software should be able to run most law firm tasks. And then two, communication. Obviously, client communication is a huge part of running a law firm. And so we have to do that well. And so if we can find a tool or a suite of tools that do those two things, then we have got something valuable, something good that we can use to run our law firm. So what I have done is I have used a tool called Clickup. And Clickup is a project management tool for software professionals and other kinds of businesses. And it is very customizable. It's also very cheap. So I think that I pay $7 or $8 a month per user for Clickup. And because it's so customizable, you can actually download pre-made templates and use as a starting points. And that's what I did, and I'm going to show you right now how I use one of those templates. And then you customize it to do what you want. So obviously, since client communication is a key thing, usually it starts with a client reaching out to me. And so you can see here my website. And so somebody clicks the contact form on my website, and I give them instructions on how to contact me. And I have my Acuity calendar here so that you can see my calendar. And then I also have a contact form. And so on the contact form, it says, this is not related to a lawsuit, or I am being sued, or I may need to start a lawsuit. Most people, since I don't focus on litigation, choose this first option. And that gives you slightly different form fields. This website is built with WordPress, and this form tool here is a paid add-on called Fluent Forms. And Fluent Forms makes really customizable and easy use form making tools, but it has one powerful feature that I really need, and that is the ability to call a webhook. Because a webhook is a system that can trigger other things to happen. And so if you've heard of Zapier or Integromat or Make, those things, they sit there and wait for something to happen. They wait for a webhook. And so this is software that has webhook support built in. And so I created a form that collects the information that I need. And then when they submit this form, or when they create an appointment, then what happens is it goes into Clickup. And so when they appear in Clickup, they're going to show up in this thing that I made called CRM leads. And so I started out by downloading a template from the Clickup template market area. They're all free as far as I know. And then it pre-configured this, and then I customized it a little bit. And so what happens is the webhook calls, I use a tool called Integromat, which is now actually called Make. It's a little bit more powerful than Zapier, also a little cheaper, but I don't think the cost of Zapier is prohibitive. I think Zapier is a little easier, but I wanted the power of the Integromat tool. And so I've customized it so that when somebody creates a new contact from me, that it goes into my CRM tool. And this is all sample data. Everything you're going to see here is not real client information. It's all made up. And so if they fill out the contact form, it shows up as contact form Smith Brandon. If they make an appointment, it shows appointment, and then it has their name. And then also too, I've fiddled with my settings to also receive leads from Facebook. And so they show up as Facebook leads. That one is not fully automated yet. And then it collects some information and stores it here. So let's just say that the Brandon Smith, this made-up person, filled out a form on my website and submitted it. And so you'll see the details here on the left-hand side of Clickup. And this is what they submitted in my form. And in Clickup, everything is a task. And so you'll see down here that you can make a new task. And a task has a title, and then it has a description field, and then you can add custom fields. You can add subtasks, and then over here you have a running commentary. And so I could say, spoke to Brandon briefly on the phone. He'll need to come in and bring some papers. So I can just leave a comment there. I have, since I'm on the paid version, I have time tracking, which is right here. So if I were working on this, I could click the start timer and it would track time. It's not very good though. So it's very basic time tracking. If you want time tracking 1.0, this is a fine tool, but the reporting is a little limited. So I use different tools for time tracking. I can set due dates. And so I can say, okay, I need to follow up with him by Thursday. And I can even put a time, Thursday at noon. And then add that in there. And then I can assign it to myself or someone else. Can do all kinds of things. But here's something else that is really cool. Okay, so you saw here I added a comment. Well, I can also send emails right from here. So if I click this button, the comment field turns into an email box. And then it suggests, see, since he filled out the form and gave me his email address, it suggests me adding him as the to address, but I could send it to anybody. And then this is a made up email address, so I'm not going to actually send it. And so I can type in an email. I can customize my signature and put that in there so that the email has my signature line at the bottom, including my disclaimer text. If I type an asterisk or a number, then it'll automatically turn it into a numbered list or bullet list. You can embed links, and it gives you plainly, simply formatted, rich emails. And then I would hit send, and then what would happen is that email would show up right in here as something that I sent. So it would show up in here. And then when Brandon replied, it also would show up in here. And so this would give me a running history of the email conversations. Now, because I've configured this to use my email address, and so I have a shared mailbox called team@iowabusinesslawyer.com, then it will be addressed from my team email address. And then so when they reply, it will show up in my Outlook or Gmail or whatever program I'm using, and it will show up here. And the nice thing is even if I reply in Gmail or Outlook and I forget to reply in this program, then it'll still get tracked right in here. So I can go back and forth. And the history stays in here. As long as I start the conversation from inside Clickup, then the conversation history will stay here. And so now I'm pretty happy. I've got Brandon's email address, phone number. I know what he's going to do. Brandon comes in on Thursday and he decides that he's going to sign up. And so I'm like, okay, great. We are going to convert Brandon from a lead to a client. So up here, I move the task, and you'll see here that I have these different folders: matters, clients, miscellaneous marketing, other stuff. So I'm going to move him to my clients folder, and then it's going to say, okay, well, he's not a new lead anymore. What is he? And so when I copied my site, if it were my live version of ClickUp, then it would have client as an option here. So we'll call it to do for now. But I hit done, and first time I've used this in the test site. So now he is a client, and I usually just reformat it to be first name, last name. And now he's gone from my leads, and he's in my clients folder. And I already actually had a client in here before. I'll show you how that works in a second. But you'll see here that I also have these other folders called staff, attorneys, referrals, providers. And so I can put my staff's contact information here, which I do have. And so that way, if I'm ever out and around, I can pull up the mobile app and I can find, oh yeah, that's my paralegal's personal cell phone number if I need to. Attorneys and referral sources, so attorneys that I refer to, I put them in there, and I have customized it so that I know what kind of law they practice. Referrals would be for like if someone needs a realtor or insurance agent, and then providers are vendors that provide services for me. So I track all of those in there. But really what's interesting is, so here's a client that I already added some stuff to, and you'll see down here that I have linked them to another task, and this is a matter. So let me show you what matters look like. Up here I've got another folder called matters, and I have it subdivided into lists based on the different areas of law that I practice. I also have an orange one for law firm tasks. These are just things that we do internally, but they're projects still. But you'll see here that I have real estate landlord, real estate other, corp LLC. The reason why I made these as separate lists is because I can add custom fields that will only show up on a commercial project, for example, or custom fields that only show up on intellectual property projects. In this case, I created a project for estate, and so I'll show you what that looks like. But when I click on the high level matters field, then I see another list. I created this from scratch, and so I did not download a template for it. But what I've done here is you'll see that I have a status. So this is a client project, and you'll see that I have different other kinds of status. I have an assignee, a due date, and then I also have this status of needs rep, and so that means I need a representation agreement in order to move to the next step here. So I can click this, and if I get the representation agreement, then I can put it into action mode. I also have waiting, paused, closed, reference, and need payment. Now you'll see here that I have this grouped into different sections, and so if I add another matter, and we'll say that's landlord. Here are my custom fields. And we need an invoice from them. So now, let's say that this one, the Newsom Trust and Will, they say, yeah, let's move forward. They sign the rep agreement. So then I change this from needs rep to action. And now it moves into this other category. And so this is usually the section for the paralegal or whoever is doing my customer client follow-ups to keep track of. So they can ping them, okay, hey, I thought you wanted us to help you with this project. Yeah, okay, well then we need you to sign that representation agreement. Do you need me to resend it to you or whatever? Also too, I have this invoice state, and so in this case we need to send them an invoice. Let's just say we send them the invoice, okay, now yellow, and then, oh, they paid, all right, so then I can choose either paid or trust, and so let's just say they paid. Now that means we're ready to start working on it. And sometimes we start even without payment, but that's optional. You'll see here that on this view of the task, I've got some additional custom fields. So in this case, I have a link to the client folder. And so when I create a new matter, I have automations set up that automatically create a new folder in Google Drive. And this also works with Office 365 OneDrive and I think other tools as well. And then if I click this link, it'll open in my browser and take me right to the client folder, and I can see all the files for this project. I can see here that they've paid. I can see the phone number, which is pretty common that you'll need to do something like that. Action, in this case, I've already asked them what they want to name their trust, and that's what they're going to call it. Now, I'm probably going to have several to-do items under this project. So what we need to do is send a questionnaire, which I can't spell. So these are all the things that are going to have to be done. And so what we might do is we might say, okay, this is going to get assigned to the paralegal. And then the paralegal will have a daily to-do list, and he or she will just pull up their daily to-do list, and if there's a due date on something, then it'll show up first, and then things that don't have a due date show up after that. And so they'll just see send a questionnaire, and then they'll be on this screen, and they'll say, oh, okay, this is for that project, and then they can find the details here. We actually like it if all of the comments and emails come from the parent task rather than the subtask. It just keeps things organized. Sometimes we mess up and put it in the wrong place, but it's not a tragedy. When that step is done, then we call it resolved, and then it hides from that list, and then the next thing on the list goes. Now, for some of our matters, we have these created automatically. There are simple automations built into Clickup, which are very useful, and then there are also Clickup integrates with Zapier and Integromat very easily as well. And so for simple things, we use Clickup's automations like apply a template. So anytime something is created in an estate planning matter, then it can put these 9 steps in there. Anytime something is for a new LLC, it puts these steps in there. And so these things are pretty simply automated. Likewise, if you want to automatically send an email when a new matter or a new client is created, that can be done very easily in Clickup. However, creating this link to Google Drive and then updating it, that needs to be done with a more powerful tool. So we use Integromat for that. But then also down here, we have a new matter checklist. And these are things that they show up kind of in a different to-do list, but it's more of like a review. Make sure these things are done. Did we ask for a review? Did we link the client to the matter? That's kind of obsolete now because we do that automatically. Did we send an invoice, payment received, follow-up? And so this is linking the client to the matter. This is a cool thing. If I click on it, you'll see, okay, here's that client in the clients folder that we looked at before. And here are all of the matters that this client has done with us. So I can click out to see that. If this sample matter were also for that client, then I would add a relationship, link it there, and now when we go look at the client, we'll see we have 2 matters for that client. And so we can jump back and forth pretty easily between all of the things that we're doing for one client. Now, there's a lot of features that Clickup has that I'm not currently demoing. So for example, I have my list of marketing, and so my marketing person, I am not paying for them to be in Clickup. I have invited them as a guest, and they have only access to this folder. And so the marketing person can see these things and do those, collaborate with me on that. Invoices, so whenever we send an invoice, our tool automatically puts something in here so that we can track it. And most people on the team cannot see it. Only myself and the person who does billing can see that. And then Client Portal is a feature that I'm working on, and it's kind of hacky, so I'm not going to show it, and I'm really not even using it. But in theory, this is a way where I can create tasks that I want the client to work on. I think that Clinked is a better portal tool, and so I use that rather than this in most cases, but you could use Clickup to do this, and it provides that. In fact, I learned to use Clickup because I interned for an attorney who was using Clickup. And so she invited me as a guest, basically as made a client portal task. And so she just added subtasks for me right here and kept track of all that we were doing right here in this one task. And that worked out really well. You can see that there's a home screen and notifications, which is nice. One of the things that you need to do when you get Clickup, if you decide to use it, is to turn down the notifications because it likes to send you a lot of notifications. Likewise, if you have something that you use often, then you can pin it, which makes it show up in your favorites right across the top, or some people have it show up on the side, which is nice, and that way you can jump around for things very quickly and easily. This is the paid version, but most of the features I showed, except for the email thing and the some of the privacy controls, are available in the free version. So you are absolutely able to go and do some experiments without forking out any cash. I think that it's a great tool, especially when coupled with a tool like Zapier or Integromat, where you can do some more advanced automation. And so I have things automatically creating documents for me with my document creation software. It connects to QuickBooks, it connects to my website, it connects to Dialpad, my tool for sending text messages and phone calls. It connects to my time tracking software, which is Clockify. So I can tie in all kinds of things. Google Docs, Microsoft Office, they can all be tied together because of the really great integration points that I have with Clickup. All right, let me know what questions you have. Love to chat about it later.